Welcome to the City Current Show. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're always honored to bring you inspiring stories of individuals and organizations making a difference and powering the good. And we're honored to kick it off talking about the McNeilly Center for Children. We are joined by their executive director, Alyssa Dituro. And Alyssa, how are you doing?
I'm fine. How are you?
Doing well. And let's start with some context. And so give us a little bit of a history lesson for the McNeilly Center for Children.
Yes. So McNealy has been providing early childhood educational services in East Nashville since 1916. We started when the First World War happened and men were leaving, and they were like, okay, women are going off to work. And so we've got to make sure that we're here and supporting our community. And so that's the same mission we've continued for the last 105 years and hope to continue further.
Talk about the magic in terms of working with the youth, as you mentioned, is to make sure that the parents are supported, but the children and the youth are supported. So talk about the age range and how the magic happens.
Absolutely. So we are so lucky to work with our youngest citizens. They are 6 weeks to 5 years. Truly the most crucial years of life when the most learning is happening. And so childcare it's not always tangible, right? It's really hard to see what our staff and our teachers are doing all day. The creating of the care and the magic, it's fleeting, right? Like, how do you explain building a tent or, spending 30 minutes in our butterfly garden, or the children getting to work with our chickens? We've got chickens on site as well. The African American Music Museum. And so creating these moments that's that everyday magic. And that's what we try to do. And I think the most important thing is for people to realize that it's all special to the kids.
Give us a little bit of a tour as much as we can through a radio show. But, when you talk about having chickens and even things like climbing rock walls, give us a little bit of a tour on what it's like there at the McNeilly Center for Children.
Yes. So we are on 5 acres. Sorry, traveling right now. We are on 5 acres, like I said, right in McFerrin Park. It's truly gorgeous. We are so lucky. We can see downtown from where we are, but it's really quiet. We have 200 children on site that we care for each day. So about 100 infant tots and then 100 preschoolers. And then I have a huge team making everything run every day. We have our kitchen staff, 2 of them, our development director, our program directors, enrollment, instructional coaches to ensure that the children are meeting their milestones. We work with the United Way to do our funding for our curriculum. And so all of our children leave us 100% ready to read. And we're really proud of that since 99% of our children receive free childcare through the state of Tennessee. The average income for a family of 4 is $20,000 per year. And so the care that we're providing at McNealy, it's that childcare, but also the other stuff.
When you look at your team, talk about your team, as you mentioned. You have an amazing team, but talk about what it means for them in terms of license, credential, specialization, expertise.
Yeah.
What does that look like?
Yes. So I always tell people the nice thing is that even if you don't necessarily understand working with children, there's a role for you at McNealy. There's a myriad of ways and resources, right? My development director's specialization is grants. However, our instructional coaches will have their bachelor's or master's in, education. And so they're working more in that way. Our social emotional coaches, they're more specialized in psychology. My background is more in urban studies and figuring out how to ensure that as gentrification happens, that it does not eliminate the entire city. And so they're all important skills for us to have to ensure that, right, even though it's early ed, there's lots of extra pieces. Most of our teachers, I have several of them, 38 years, 44 years in early ed, and just truly the experts in their field. Most of them have their infant toddler specialization, their associates or their bachelor's degrees, and just have just a range of experience that they bring with them from other fields as well.
What does a typical day look like? So start time, and if there is such a thing as a typical day.
Yeah. Oh, goodness. Yes. So we are open from 6 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. One of my program directors will be open. And so we've got kiddos coming in for the first 3 hours of the day. making sure they get breakfast and situated. That's a really good time for us to kind of talk to teachers again. And then after that, it's go time. It'll look different based on the age group, but it's busy. Even in our infant room, people think it's very calm and quiet, right? But they're doing tummy time. They're taking them outside for sensory experiences. We might have a special guest come on site to do an on-site field trip. We recently had the National Children's Theater come, and that was a really fun time. We usually will have a volunteer group at some point during the week to come, and we always love having volunteers. Another way that it's easy to kind of get involved, even if you're not like, I want to be with the kids. And after, it's just really busy. So a typical day, I tell people it's loud, it's messy. That's the point of childhood, though. And so if we have done those things, we are doing our job well.
Nice. When you look at the pandemic and the impact it's had on your organization, but also on the children and the families, what does that look like?
Yes, we do a lot of social emotional work. We already did through conscious discipline, which is part of our work that we do every day. But we've really, in the last few months, honed in on working with the anxiety of some children, because some of them have never been in childcare, or they were and they are just coming back. There's a lot more anxiety amongst families and children now. And so doing a lot of mindfulness meditations, ensuring our families have the resources that they need as well. I know I have my own 4-year-old, so having a preschooler and working full time during the pandemic, trying to make sure that our parents know to take care of themselves, and understanding adverse childhood experiences, and that this is one for our children. So being emotionally supportive, and the same things that COVID has made us feel, they feel it too. They just don't always have the right emotions or words to express themselves.
How has it impacted you on the organizational side? So for the business side, how has it impacted you all?
Yeah, it definitely impacted enrollment. A lot of people, unfortunately, when they lost their jobs, that meant that they could not afford childcare. And so our enrollment went down. We're lucky we have been able to keep everybody employed. And we've been able to get some grants through DHS and the government to really help sustain us. But we've had to be creative in that model. And we haven't had any fundraising events either in the last few years. And so that it really, our long-term bottom line is what's impacted in that sense. And then of course, just trying to recruit staff and retain staff, making sure that we're keeping them safe and healthy, that we have PPE for them, that we're cleaning. That's the other thing, right? That care that we need to provide for them. And so I think it's been a challenge, a blessing and a curse, definitely. We've had to really figure out how can we support our families, right, virtually? How do we have family engagement? How do we show up for them? And so it's made it a challenge for us, but it really stretched us in ways that we didn't know we could.
What's something kind of carrying that forward? What's something that you've learned during this time that you think is going to make you stronger coming out, or has made you stronger already?
Yeah, I think that the number one thing that I learned is that children are incredibly resilient, and that they are the most important thing that we can invest in right now. We already know, because of this long-term learning, $17 trillion of earnings for the children right now. And so it's really important for us to invest in them. That's what the pandemic, it secured it for me, and I think it helped other people remember this is important. Childcare and anything that you can do to support it is crucial to the economic longevity of not only Nashville, but our nation.
When you look at working with the teachers, working with the youth, I'm thinking for young parents, what are some words of encouragement, some bits of advice that you would pass along to young parents?
Yeah. Favorite thing I like to say is none of our parents knew what they were doing either. We just weren't aware, right? It's an ebb and a flow, and not every day is perfect. Make sure you have at least one or two people that you can be truthful with when you're in that parenting journey and that rut. I love that we can be that for some of our families. I always tell people we don't have a big support system in Nashville, right? We're transplants of 8 years. And so you have to really create that village. And I'm so happy that we can be that for our families, whether they're in crisis and or they're going through divorce or need assistance. I love that they know we're there for childcare, but more importantly, we're there to keep your family intact and to help you guys grow as well.
Talk about advocacy, because I think this kind of comes into play. It's advocating for young children, advocating for policy. Talk about the advocacy efforts.
Yes, that's one of my favorite things that's newer for us at McNeilly. And so meeting with our local politicians, making sure that we show up to our McFerrin Park neighborhood meetings. We're right across from the new River Chase development in Nashville. And so ensuring that the quality of life remains for those people as the city continues to gentrify, meeting with our local, like I said, local politicians, but then doing blog posts, meeting with local churches and organizations. I always say childcare is political. It really is. It's important for people to understand across the line in the spectrum that we cannot gamble with the youngest people's lives or their longevity or what it means to take care of them. Advocating for childcare means voting in ways, right, for these people that are helping with hunger and homelessness. Childcare is all encompassing.
When you look at goals for 2022 and beyond, what are some of your goals as an organization and for you personally?
Absolutely. One of my largest goals for us as an organization is to build out our garden and to replace some of our equipment that we lost during the tornadoes. We were fortunate, not super major damage to the buildings, the roof, but that was easily replaced. But you know, the garden is really missed by the kids and the staff. Like I said, we're very outdoorsy. We've got the chickens in our monarch garden. But it's just a really fun place to play, and it's an extra activity area. And then, of course, the equipment that's missing makes it harder for them to get outside. And then in 2022, I would love to ensure, since I am still in my first year of coming into McNealy, that people know who we are, that I can talk about us and brag on us as much as we can, so people want to support childcare.
When you look at the garden and some other ways that we can help, and you mentioned volunteerism, talk about the many different ways that we can help. How can the community help your efforts?
Absolutely. The number one thing that our community can do is donate diapers and wipes. That's the one thing that our families have the hardest time securing, and the one thing that we end up having to keep a lot of extra stock of. So anything that's 0 to 5 years old, that is incredibly helpful. We have a donation portal that we're always looking for donations for. It costs $250 per child for us to make up the offset from the state. And so that's another great way that people can advocate for us. Liking and sharing, we're really trying to build our social media presence. And so Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, all the things, we want to make sure people know who we are. Like I said, we've been in Nashville for over 100 years, and we should have a phenomenal legacy, and people should know about us.
You mentioned obviously being fairly new in the role, but for you as an executive director, as a leader, and also as a mother, how has this changed you personally already?
Yeah. And so in my previous role, I was still lucky to be in the nonprofit world and directing a childcare center, but McNealy, I know I wanted to come there as a parent because I could see how wonderful it was and that there were not enough people that knew. We're one of 12 nationally accredited centers in Middle Tennessee. We should really be bragging about ourselves. But more importantly, it's shown me that you need people that love you and care for your child. And as a leader, it's shown me previously, I've always led with empathy. And I firmly still believe that is the best way to leading with heart and ensuring that my staff knows I'm here for them in every single way.
Give me one more thing that you wish everyone knew about the McNeilly Center for Children.
I wish that everybody knew that we have openings for 3 to 5 year olds immediately. And we have a great program.
There you go. Nice. We'll wrap up with contact information. You mentioned being able to share all of it on social media. So where do we go to learn more? Website, social media? Where do we go?
You can find us at McNeillyCenter.org. And from there, you can follow us on socials and find our blog.
Well, Alyssa, thank you for all you and your amazing team do. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Once again, everyone, you can go to McNeillyCenter.org. That's McNeilly Center.org to learn more. It's McNeilly Center on Twitter, McNeilly Center on Facebook. So lots of easy ways to follow the conversation, to share positive stories about the McNeilly Center for Children. So once again, Alyssa, thank you for all you and your amazing team do. Thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you. Have a good day.